Tonight, I'm at Jazzed, talking with Trae Gurley. So who are some of the other musicians in town that you love working with?
Oh man, well I mentioned Jared Hall and Ricardo Ochoa, so the guys from Velvet Caravan, I love working with them. I've worked with them before, just here and there. I'm going to actually be kind of a roadie for them at South by Southwest. I'm going with them kind of to hitch a ride. Anytime I can work with people in town that I admire, Huxley Scott, oh man, whom I happen to share a birthday with. Her and I have been friends for a long time. Well, I would like to say I would work with more people, but it's difficult when you're a working musician because you don't get to support each other as much. You know, there's lots of people like Eric Britt or Jason Bible, people that I would love to have the time to sit down and maybe just hang out with for a while, but don't have the time to do it. Isaac Smith's another good friend of mine that I love on the scene and what he's doing that's fresh and young. So yeah, I mean, this city, as you know, is really small musically. And so it helps to be nothing but supportive of each other and trying to collaborate in as many ways as possible, because that's how you're going to be not only a steady worker, but I think a good creator, which is what I'm trying to gear myself more towards, is creating more, which is difficult when you're singing this great music. Nobody's going to rewrite this stuff, so it's there. But sitting down on the piano and writing a song is completely different than that. So I'm trying to push myself in that direction, and it's difficult and challenging, but I'm accepting the challenge.
So you're moving into the singer-songwriter.
I wouldn't say moving into it. I've been writing music for a long time. I've just been very shy about actually putting it out and letting other people hear it other than myself. So that's kind of just a challenge for me to do. So it's a goal this year of mine to do just an album in my studio with me and one other person and do a collaboration, kind of not a duets album, but Jared Hall and I do a song together, and then Isaac and I do a song together. Just things like that, or it might be a song that I let them suggest and we do it together as a team and not just I'm picking it. So then you don't know what's going to happen. It's just, let's see what's going to happen in here today. Kind of like the surprise of that.
If anybody has a chance to see you sing with Roger Moss, love songs, it is just the most hilarious thing I've ever seen.
Man, we have such a good time. We've, as a matter of fact, we talked recently, and we've already got a steady list of the next round of tunes that we can kind of take it up a notch. You know, and it's the love-hate that you can put on stage and make people smile. It's very like Sammy Davis and Frank Sinatra. That was probably the closest pairing we could get. Because on stage there, you see the two of them, they're like, oh, I can't believe he just said that to him. How mean, but they're actually best friends. It's all an act. And so Roger and I, we just thought that we would play that up even more as much as possible, which why not? I mean, we have a good time doing it. You put two hams up there, it's not too difficult.
Well, I see you easily fitting into the Frank Sinatra role. I don't quite see him as Sammy Davis Jr., but...
we were talking about doing Me and My Shadow. And I said, well, it might be a little backwards because I think I probably fit more in your shadow since I'm like the smallest person up here. Not to be made in an offensive way, like saying he's huge compared to me. But even to me, that makes it even funnier, the juxtaposition there. So yeah, man, I can't say enough nice things about Roger. He and I have been friends for a long time. And what a great voice on that guy. So yeah, man, we're lucky living in this town. And I'm lucky to get to work with those people. You mentioned Huxley Scott earlier, Roger, Kempelote. These are people that I would hear out and think, oh man, if I could get up there and just sing one song with them, it would be so cool. And then now they're like my friends. So that's how welcoming this music community can be too for somebody like me who is actually pretty shy musically. So to have people like that welcome you with open arms is really nice. Yeah, it's great.
Tell us a little bit more about your musical comedy background. Seeing you up on stage at one of the Lucas Theater cabarets,
right.
It's not surprising that you have a musical comedy background.
Well, I think I'm not. Is it comedy? I mean, that's just my personality. I think that's me being nervous or feeling like I'm the performer where if I feel like if I can just get the crowd on my side and the quicker I can, then I've got them and I can kind of do whatever I want. Then it's okay to be myself. They're, and I'll take a cheap laugh. I don't care if they're laughing with me or at me. You can laugh at me. I'll take a cheap laugh any day. So yeah, like I said, anytime somebody's going to suggest a short joke, I am the first person to get on board with it, especially if it's new and I haven't heard it yet. Yeah, I'll do whatever I can do to get along. Maybe I'm just naturally funny, Dave. I don't know. I don't think I am funny, but maybe I am. I don't know. I should ask my friends that question.
You should.
I think they think I'm serious.
Well, there's a serious side to your singing.
Maybe. The only time I want it to be serious is if I have something to say about a song. If it's a listening room, let me say it that way. A real show, and I have something to say about a song, and you want everyone to really listen to what you're saying. I love telling a story. I have to be shut down sometimes from telling a story because I'll listen to myself and say, oh my God, that was a 10-minute song. Well, it was because you spoke for 7 minutes before you actually got going. So I should learn to shorten that down a little bit. But I get excited and I want the audience to really feel like what I'm feeling when I'm getting ready to sing that song. And most of the time when you deliver it that way, then I think they really get it. Or else they wouldn't be there in the first place to listen. I just want everybody to have a good time. I don't want somebody to walk out of the audience and go, well, that was a waste of a Friday. Or we paid $20 for that.
Well, I have to say, this is just a personal opinion. Those cabarets at the Lucas Theater are worth way more than $20.
Man, they're just good shows, though, I think, aren't they? And I hope I get to keep doing them. The only reason I'll ever say no is if I'm either not here or they fire me. But we're, continuing that. We'll continue to expand the Christmas show, which I thought was hysterical this year and fun and different and challenging. I would love to be doing more of that, frankly, because it's very similar to a theatrical show. That's why people will do Broadway or any other kind of theater where they're not making a lot of money. Well, like musicians make a lot of money anyway, but, where you can walk away at least at the end of the night. It's nice if you do a bunch of bar gigs and you get the ho-hum atmosphere that you're never satisfied, but if you get one good person that'll come up to you afterwards and be, you really made my night, or I really enjoyed what you were doing. Sometimes that's all you really need to be like, well, then I guess I'm doing good. I'm just lucky to be in the position where this is what I do for a living. That's pretty awesome.
Now, how often do you perform with your guitar?
I try to do it a minimum of 2 or 3 times a month, once every 10, 12, 14 days. I do it at least once a month here when I can. I tend to do more private events with that, believe it or not, especially this time of year, courtyard parties. So not that often around town, so you just have to get lucky and catch me doing it somewhere. My goal is to do it more by the summer, end of summer, when I'm trying to get this project underway that I'm working on. So
would you like to talk about that project?
Well, it's just something I want to do on my own, with my own music. Very minimal musicians. I'm going to record it myself in my studio and have someone else master it. It'll be very, very simply done, like maybe 8 or 9 tracks. And then I want to do another full-length real album, kind of a Kickstarter style, at Elevated Basement I've been toying with the idea of getting the Velvet Caravan guys to be my backup band. So kind of a collaboration album with them, where it can still be kind of in a jazzier side, but with the Velvet Caravan flair. We'll see. I've got to talk them into it first, though. But we'll see if we can make it happen.
Now tell me a little bit about the life of a local Savannah musician.
Oh, sheesh. I was a manager at a Starbucks for a long time, singing 1 gig a week maybe or so. And at the time it was, I was waiting tables at night. So it was actually to stop waiting tables. I said, well, if I could get 1 gig on a Friday, I won't have to wait tables on Saturday or Sunday. So that was kind of my goal. So once I got there, and then I just slowly kind of started building, and then it got to the point where over a period of a couple of years, I was so busy doing gigs, and then I had my 40-hour-a-week job on top of that. I was never at home, so I had to kind of choose. I either slow down with the music, or I've got to get rid of this day job. So my wife, I was the breadwinner in the family, and she was getting ready to go off on another adventure in a job where she had the opportunity where we could kind of switch roles. And so that's what we did. She has the real job now, and I have the, I guess I would call it the fun job. It's a job, but it's a fun job. I'm the house husband, and I work at night. So I don't have to have as much pressure on myself to like, I've got to get that gig, I got to get that gig. So I don't have that mentality. So it allows me to be a little bit more creative. I have a little bit more freedom. It's not to say I don't work a lot, but I don't have to work every night of the week, and I don't have to work at a bar for 5 hours to make $75. So I'm lucky that I don't have to do that. Not that that's not important, but I've done that. I think I've worked that gig. As you got to pay your dues, man. So I think I paid my dues that way. But I'm lucky now that I can concentrate on just doing the music that I really love to do, or the parties that I want to do, and it allows me more time to sit down at my piano or with my guitar and just think.
You just mentioned getting behind the piano. How long have you been playing piano?
Not long. I mean, I play by ear. I got my grandmother's piano from my mom. She kind of refurbished it for me, and so I put it in my studio and started taking piano lessons from a lady down the street. Just learning how it works again. So now I've got my legs a little bit. I'm not a classically trained pianist, so I'm definitely a singer-songwriter pianist. But it helps when you can sit down with someone like Jared and we can play together. That makes me feel like a musician, whether it be guitar or with a piano or whatever. But what a valuable skill that I didn't know that I needed to have, but I felt like it was missing, because I want to understand more about how to create something like that. So I think that's just the part of being a musician, where you're constantly wanting to learn and expand in something. I've always wanted to play piano. I did not have piano as a kid, so I played saxophone. God knows what, I think about that all the time, what my life would be like had I taken piano lessons as a child. What kind of performer would I be now if I was able to really proficiently play that instrument? Which I'll never be a jazz pianist in that realm. I'll never be, the Thelonious Monk or Nat King Cole type. But I could be kind of a Carole King type, maybe. A singer-songwriter pianist. I could do that, I think. So it's fun to sit. I think people take you seriously. It's weird as a singer sometimes when you're singing. I think people don't think of it as an instrument all the time, unless you're an opera singer or this ridiculously beautiful voice like someone like J.J. Hobbs, who's she's gonna walk out and sing a note and you're like, oh my God. I don't think I have that kind of a voice. I think I kind of have to pull you in a little bit with my personality and my soul. I don't think I have what I would call a voice where you hear it and you're like, I've got to know who that guy is. It's not like that at all. So I think it's a different thing when you can sit down at a piano too and say, let me sing you this song. And they're like, oh, well, he is a real musician.
So when you do a house concert and take your guitar with you, but see a piano there, do you perform with it?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I'll sit down and play a few songs, provided that I'm like warmed up and I know exactly what I'm playing. I probably cannot take a request, but I can sit down and be like, oh, I've got 5 or 6 in my wheelhouse that I'm kind of working on, or that I kind of remember, and then I'll sit down and play this and see what you think about it. And it's usually nothing very difficult. It's not wowing, there's no Liberace runs or anything. But nonetheless, I love sitting down at a piano. I've really got a fascination with it. And I'm like, as a matter of fact, I just got Jared Hall's old piano that was at B. Matthews, and then he moved it to this other place on Broughton Street, Department 7, where he was playing for a while. And then a few weeks ago, I helped him move it back to the church, pushing it down the street. And then when we finally got there, he was like, man, I wish I had a home for this. And I'm like, well, we can move my grandma's piano back in the house, and I'm happy to put it in the studio. And so last week I rented a truck and put it in there, man. It's a beautiful sounding piano, so I couldn't pass it up. I had to have it. So it's nice sitting out there long hours playing beating on that thing, man. It's beautiful.
And just for the listeners, it was last week when we were talking about getting together. He said, oh, I've got to move a piano that day, so can't do it that day.
That was it. Yeah, that's it. That was the piano.
So it's now your piano.
Not mine, it's Jared's. Well, I'm homing it for him, but I'm pretty sure it's going to become mine just because it's going to be in that space long enough that it'll belong to me at some point.
And it will want to stay in that space.
I think it will. I think it's going to have to. I'll make it happen.
Now, you mentioned J.J. Hobbs.
Yes.
Who now is J.J. Collins.
That's right, J.J. Collins, you're right.
So, what is it like to sing with her?
It's like a freight train. She's got the voice that you do hear, and you're like, I have to know who that person is. She sang Summertime. I remember thinking to myself, I was like looking at my notebook, and I went, oh my God, I am so out of my league right here. I don't know how I'm going to sing a song in front of her.
To give you a sense of Trae's panic, here is J.J. Collins singing George and Ira Gershwin's Summertime from a concert by the Uncommon Collective.
And I'd been going on before about musical theater and this and that and the other, all before I'd even heard her sing. So I was like, oh, and now I'm going to have to sing it. I'm just going to have to do it. And I remember like chugging the glass of wine that she gave me. I was terrified. But, which is the most ridiculous thing I could have ever thought, because JJ is the most kind, encouraging, supportive performer you could meet. You know, out of the class of performers, you can have the people who are very encouraging and want to see you push yourself and encourage you because they know what you're capable of and they believe in you and they love you, as opposed to the performers who are just there for themselves and could really care less about anyone else. She is definitely way over here on this other pile. And straight away could not have made me feel more comfortable. And anytime I can sing on the stage with her, she definitely does all the hard work and makes me look really good just because I'm up there. And I think that every time I share a stage with her, it doesn't get old. But she's just so powerful anybody who's got a powerful voice like that and knows how to control it, that's someone that's to be bargained with. And I mean controlling it not just physically, but controlling it emotionally and being able to connect with the people out there. So I find myself, if I'm sitting in the back on the stage listening to her sing, sometimes I have to kind of push myself from not paying attention to what she's doing, because I'm thinking, I can't get emotional right now. I have to get up and sing a song after this. So I can't become an audience member. I have to kind of detach myself from her for a moment, or else I'll get pulled in too.
Tonight, I'm at Jazzed talking with Trae Gurley. I can imagine listening to her and missing your cue.
Oh, I've probably done it. Well, I'm sure I've done it plenty of times at the end of a song. You know, you hear the applause and that's your cue. And I've looked at the paper, I'm sure, and been like, oh God, where the hell am I? I know I've done it with Natasha Drina. I can't count how many times. Sitting on stage and just like getting caught up in the moment, and then she'll come over and she's like, it's your song now. Oh God, what am I doing now? What is it? I just completely get lost. So it's not that I'm scatterbrained, but I really am. If I'm there in the song with you, man, I'm there with you. I'll be there. Sometimes it's not a good thing.
And I don't think your average listener knows that you are listening as intensively or more intensively than they are.
Oh, because I'm a fan too, man. I mean, I think of it that way. I'm on stage with them, but we're just not like the cast. I look up to these people too, and I want to hear them sing, and sometimes I'll take a gig just... You don't even have to tell me what I'm doing. You can tell me, Trae, I'd love to see if you'd be interested in doing a gig with blah, blah, blah. And I'll go, I'm in. Just tell me what I'm doing. And it could be just because I want to hear them sing. Or I haven't got to play with this person before. I'll do it. So I was talking to someone the other day about performers who were talking about a gig. And they wouldn't do the gig because it wasn't even a lot of money to begin with, but the money wasn't right. And I remember thinking, God, man, I would have said yes to that gig just based on who's on the bill. Well, it shouldn't even matter that even if you don't get paid for it, don't you want to do that gig? I mean, you you only do gigs for a few reasons. One, you're doing it for the money. Two, you're doing it because it's fun. Three, you're doing it because of the people that are listening to you. I mean, there can't be that many, but it doesn't mean it just has to be this one all the time. So I kind of view gigs like that too, man. And I'm trying to be better about showing up to gigs that just sit-in gigs. Usually those happen like really late at night, and I have a family, so I'm not out at 11, 12, 1 in the morning where I can go to an open mic like I should. But that's what I probably should be doing, because that's probably the most uncomfortable place you could put me. Stick me in a bar with a bunch of people I don't know and ask me to get up there with my guitar and play a song that I wrote. That's probably the most terrifying thing you could do. Put me on a stage in front of 10,000 people and let me sing a Sinatra song. I don't think I'm going to have any problem doing that. I'll have a drink before I go out there. But that would be much easier than me going to Abe's and singing for 10 people. That sounds terrifying. But it's because you know they're listening to what you're doing, right? And you can't get away from that. There's no spotlight to blind you from seeing the audience. So you have to be present with them, and you share a moment, and it's either going to be great or not. But most of the time, I think it's better than you think it is, because you're being intimate with someone. Freeing to say we're gonna. I think I said that in my cabaret when I sat down at the piano, as a matter of fact, looking at the audience, and I could look at my mother going, oh my God, he's really going to do it. And I said, everything's going to be okay. And I said that more for myself than anyone else, but it was because I knew we were all extremely nervous about what was about to happen. That's why I asked you if you think I pulled it off, because I was completely terrified.
Well, it's amazing because it doesn't look that way.
I think that's what musicians do, though, isn't it? I mean, the gig's the gig, and you try not to pine on it. I mean, I don't want to talk about, I never go back and, listen to myself or watch myself, or, my album. I don't think I've listened to it since the day it was mastered, because I'll cut it to pieces. It'll be awful every time I hear it, or, in my mind, to my voice, I'll just think of the million things I could have done better. I'd rather walk away from the gig and think, Dave was in the audience. Dave said I did a good job tonight. I did a good job tonight. Instead of thinking about, that one song, man, that note, I really messed it up. You can kill yourself over that stuff. And musicians will beat themselves up over that. At least I do. But I'm trying to be the kind of musician and singer that sometimes you have a bad night, man. I mean, I have bad nights too, so it's bad when you have a bad night. You got to go home and say, well, you had one bad night, but you haven't had a bad night in the last, 400. So it's okay. You don't really suck that bad.
You mentioned earlier about preparing a particular show, and you sat down with J.J. Collins, with Roger Moss,
Right.
with Jared Hall,
Right.
all classically trained musicians. What goes through your mind in a situation like that?
I can read music and I know theory, but I'm not vocally classically trained. I'm not classically trained in any other instrument except for a saxophone, which I don't know that really counts. So yeah, it can be very intimidating because I don't have that educational background. I'm more of the, for lack of a better term, the school of hard knocks educational background in music. I'm not saying that's a lesser thing. I'm just not going to get up there and be able to sing an Italian aria for you, which I'm trying to change. That's a goal. Like I told Jared, I want to do at least one song in French on this album, or I told JJ that before. Like I would love to sing an aria at some point in my life because I think that's a goal. That's something I've always wanted to be able to do. I had done a thing with Roger at Trinity. I was singing like a very simple song. Maybe it was like a Paul Simon tune or something. And then I walk in, I forgot that Roger was on the gig too, so I walk in, I'm like, oh man, so what are you singing? And it was like some kind of Italian opera or whatever, so he's going first. It's like, oh man, why you gotta be a jerk like that? And because then I gotta follow that? He was like, well, I didn't make the program. So I'm gonna have to learn at least one. I need just one good one. So then then I can put it, if they email me and ask me, you're gonna do this show with Roger, I'll say, I'll do it, but only if I can do this song, and that means Roger can't do it. So if he chooses this one, tell him it's mine. All of that is completely internalized by me and definitely not put outward by them. I do walk in a room and it's hard not to feel intimidated by people that have that stature.
Now, I'm sure a lot of listeners wonder, how on earth do you remember all of those songs?
That's a good question, man. I have one of those weird, I won't call it a photographic memory because I definitely don't have that, but when it comes to music, even like pop culture music, it's weird. Sometimes I can play a song once or listen to it once and I can remember it straight away. Sometimes I have a really hard time. There's a couple songs I've had a hard time learning or I have to relearn, but most of the time I can sing a song a couple of times and I know it. I don't know if it's because the progression is similar or the rhyme could just be because they're well-written songs. And the rhymes are easy for me to remember because I like the lyrics so much. Or because they're embedded in me and it's like a baby and you just learn it. I don't know, that's a good one, man. I don't really know the answer to that, except for that I can do that. It's freaky to me too. The one song I have a really hard time with is Baby It's Cold Outside. I always have a hard time with that one because it's one of the few duets where you can't really pay attention to your partner for the next line. Because if you get lost in that song, you're completely screwed. There's really no way to get your way back. It's difficult. You can listen to what they're saying, but you're going to miss a couple of lines until you catch up.
Well, here's Trae singing Baby It's Cold Outside with J.J. Collins at a recent Uncommon Collective concert.
I really can't stay.
Baby, it's cold outside.
I've got to go away.
Baby, it's cold outside.
This evening has
Been hoping that
been
you'll
so
drop in.
very nice.
I hold your hands, they're just like
My mother will start to worry.
beautiful. What's your
And
hurry?
father will be pacing the floor.
Listen to that fireplace
So
roar.
baby, I'd better skirt.
Beautiful, please don't
Or
hurry.
maybe just a half a drink more.
What's the records? What will I
The
pour?
neighbors might think,
Baby, it's bad out there.
say, what's in this drink?
No Ubers to be had out there.
I wish I knew how.
Your eyes are like starlight now.
This spell.
I'll take your hat. Your hair looks swell.
I'll just say no, no, no.
Mind if I move in
At least
closer?
I'm gonna say that I
If
tried.
you could say that I cried.
Really can't stay.
Baby, don't go down. Ah, but it's cold outside. Baby, it's cold outside.
The answer is no.
Baby, it's cold outside.
The welcome has been
So lucky that you dropped in.
more.
Look out the window at the
My sister
storm.
will be suspicious.
Gosh, her lips look
My
delicious.
brother will be there at the door.
I'm not worried about you, brother.
My maintenance mind is vicious.
Gosh, your lips look delicious.
Maybe just a cigarette more.
Never such a blizzard
I've got to get
before.
home.
Baby, you'll freeze out there.
Say, lend me your phone.
It's up to your knees out there.
You've really been grand.
I feel when you touch my hand.
See,
How can you do this thing to
there's
me?
bound to be talk tomorrow.
Think of my lifelong sorrow.
There'll be plenty of
If you caught pneumonia and die,
really can't stay.
baby, don't hold out. Baby, it's cold. Baby, it's cold outside.
Anything where I'm on my own, I'm usually going to remember. I'll probably remember it because I'll work it to death too. Like I'm sure the songs that I played piano on at my show, I probably can't even tell you how many times I played those songs because I wanted to be able to play those. If I were completely drunk, I'd be able to play them because I wanted it to be second nature because I didn't want to have to think about it too much when I was up there because I knew if I overthought it, then I would make a mistake or it wouldn't be real. I want to be able to play this like I'm playing it in my studio. I want to feel that comfortable.
Well, I want to thank you so very much
Thanks,
for
man.
talking with me this evening.
Absolutely, that's
I
great.
really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it too, man. Thank you.
This has been another edition of Music Local and Sustainable, and I've been your host, Dave Lake. Save this time for another show next week.
Well, I know we ain't headed for the Hall of Fame. Gonna give it what we got, man, that ain't no shame. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, check, 1, 2. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, check, 1, 2.